Welcome to the All Central Podcast. I'm your host, Larry Kirk. I'm joined today with Pastor Jonathan to my right. And to my left is our good friend, Pastor Shane Willard. Super excited to have him today. And we're going to start with a word called ultracrepidarian. Yeah. I believe that's how you said it. And what is it?
Yeah, ultracrepidarian.
Okay. And so we're going to start with that word today, and we're going to find out what that actually means and what it's related to.
Well, yes. So an ultracrepidarian, it's my new favorite word. It was taught to me by a good friend of mine.
It's a great word.
It is a real word. You guys can check it out. Mm-hmm. It's CREP, not CRAP. That's important. Ultracrepidarian means it's someone who spouts off confidently about topics they're not qualified to speak on. Mm. Now, the etymology of the word, for just 20 seconds of nerddom here, came from an artist that was fixing to release what he thought was a masterpiece. And so before he released it to the public, he asked his friends to come in and critique it. And one of his friends was the cobbler. And the cobbler said, "Oh, the shoes are wrong," and he was right. So the artist fixed the shoes up. So the word ultracrepidarian, ultra means beyond, crepidos, shoes, means beyond shoes. So what happened was when the cobbler came back in and the artist had fixed the shoes, he started criticizing the shadows, and the artist said, "That's ultracrepidarian. That's beyond shoes. It's beyond your level. It's beyond what your expertise is." And so an ultracrepidarian then is someone who criticizes or spouts off confidently about topics that they're not qualified to speak on.
Which brings us
to this device right here.
Correct.
I mean, personally, I have very much a love and real hate relationship to technology, particularly phones. I think is something that we need to touch on today. They've crept into our life and into our world, and they're so explosive. There's so much going on inside of this device. There's more technology and computing power in here than what took us to the moon. And we did land on the moon.
Yes.
Was that for some conspiracy theorist out there?
We did. Please, someone comment. Yeah. Please, some ultracrepidarian, please comment.
Yes. Some non-astronaut,
because they were there.
Somebody without a PhD in astrophysics, Just my Uncle Bill told me back there.
But I'm an astrologist.
I'm okay now. I'm an astrologist.
Anyway, these things have crept into our phone, and of course the beauty of them is we could talk about that for a long time. Yeah. I mean, information right here, connectedness. I can call my mum today and tell her about my bunion or whatever. Yeah. That. So there's beautiful, wonderful, amazing things. We can capture pictures, and anyway, we can wax lyrical about the phone all day. Yeah. But the as beautiful and wonderful it is equally destructive on the other side. And I guess I'm interested in your thoughts on technology and how that particularly is affecting our spiritual life, our practice of being a Jesus follower. Yep. And we have to be careful speaking for Jesus, but I maybe we can explore the realms of what maybe Jesus would have thought. As far as we know him and as best as we can do that, how can we best approach this in a way that we think Jesus would have approached technology?
Yeah, I think so. Let's start with the potential negatives, because the ditch to avoid obviously is overreacting to things like, I got to have breakfast with a top executive from Microsoft, and I asked her about AI, and she said, "Look," she said, "just like anything, people are going to overreact. People are going to underreact. People are going to use it for not good things." She said, "But, I saw an AI controlled thing be able to operate on a brain tumor that was previously inoperable at 8 microns, and they were able to get it at 43 microns. So if just that one thing, if it makes brain cancer surgery 5 times more effective, well, do we what do we do with it over here, right? And so one ditch to avoid is to go, anything that has any danger at all, we're just going to avoid. Well, that's my philosophy on like extreme activities. Like if they ever told you, Shane Willard died by jumping out of an airplane, his chute didn't open. That is a lie.
It's a lie.
They took me up there and threw me out. That's just
Because he wouldn't have done that.
I ain't doing that. Or
He was
scuba
not
diving.
willing.
Hey, he went scuba diving and his oxygen tank ran out. Bull crap.
Shane's never going to scuba.
Never, ever. Like I was just in Cape Town, and Cape Town has Table Mountain, and they were like, "You want to jump off Table Mountain with like wings, and float to the bottom?" I was like, "Are you serious?" Like there was a lineup of people doing it, but I ain't doing that. So my philosophy on like extreme activities like that is avoid it. But like to totally avoid anything that could potentially have any danger, you end up being this guy in a cabin 10 miles outside of Harlan, Kentucky with a beard,
And a tinfoil hat.
And you're living off the grid, because they're watching,
So the solution is not to hermit yourself.
That's extreme.
That's an extreme sort of thing. Or you hear people go, I don't want to take medicine or whatever because they could be microchipping me so they can know where I'm at. I can tell you right now, once a month, I get a Google Map timeline update. It has every city I've been to.
Yeah.
They already know.
Yeah.
And if Jonathan Prothero has allergies, how can we help? You're gonna get a thing. That you'll start to see ads and so this idea that somehow inherently dangerous, I don't know, or the overemphasis on how interesting my life would be that people would want to watch.
Yeah, nobody cares, bro.
Like Larry, if the government was watching Larry and I, our entire night last night was just baseball, an hour and a half discussion on something meaningful that was personal to us.
And pan-seared tuna.
Pan-seared tuna.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was that. And so the overreactions would be, I'm going to avoid it altogether.
Yeah.
The other side would be, I'm going to just lose myself in that for hours and hours and hours a day. And so the potential downfall is what it does to IQ. When you're addicted to the context switch every 8-9 seconds or something, it actually, I've seen some research on it where it's actually lowering our attention span to less than a goldfish. It's doing some detrimental things to our IQ on one end, but it's increasing our ability to learn in terms of other ends. So there's that. But in terms of like spiritual implications and community, the potential detriment is really, really bad. At the same time, there's a thing over here called, I don't even know what to call it, but if in 1985, if Larry and I got interested in a historical, the history of Philippi in 57 AD and what the Battle of Philippi in 37 AD had implications for the development of that region. Like we'd have to go to the Library of Congress, maybe. Yep. Now we have it right there. And so we need to embrace that. But understand the tension and the wisdom of what happens with the algorithms is it creates a culture that honors utter agreement instead of learning. And I think as long as we know that I'm participating in a thing that is just reinforcing what I've always thought instead of allowing a mechanism for me to hear someone else out.
Yeah, just like critical thinking even, right?
Right.
Because everything's going to agree with us on that algorithm, right?
Correct.
And then,
And you're going...
There's nothing going to be confronting in any way. Because
there doesn't have to be. Yeah. But law of large numbers, if there's 8 billion people in the world, if 1/1000th of 1% of them have a thought, well, that's still what? 80,000 people? Something like that? Well, Can 80,000 people, Larry, be wrong? I have found 80,000 people who agree with me on this. And then that solidifies you in some bizarre posture that at the end of the day, if I asked you, so what, you don't have an answer. And before you know it, you can waste 7 years of your life in a bizarre thought that hasn't changed the world for anybody. Like just anybody. And like I was playing golf the other day with someone I think is smart. And anyway, a plane was probably 30,000 feet above us. You can't really see the plane, but you can see and he said, they're screwing with us. I said, excuse me? He said, look, they're spraying mind control things in the air. He said, what else could that be? I said, well, maybe, or it could be that at that altitude, it's minus 52 degrees Celsius, and that engine is positive 1,500 degrees Celsius. And when minus 52 degree air goes through 1,500 degree air and heats up that fast and then cools that fast coming back out, it creates vapor. It's possible. Or it's possible there's spraying mind control chemicals at 38,000 feet. But I would say that if their goal was to spray mind control chemicals, they would do that at 800 feet, because just maybe, and my whole thing with him was, so is there one thing, if that's true, is there one thing we could do about it? And here was a guy that is a smart guy that had spent hours, obsessing down these rabbit holes. And so from a Jesus perspective, which is where this started.
It's wasting time. Yeah.
I think exactly. Is it right or wrong?
No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a,
sure.
boring question. It's what you said. It's like, so I think a couple fundamental things with Jesus is Jesus asked his followers to fundamentally posture their life towards how to help people with less. Number one. Number two, Jesus asked his followers to posture themselves towards table fellowship, right? Towards conversation, learning, accepting people without having to affirm everything they've done. And if Jesus didn't buy anything else he was selling, which I think he bought everything he was selling, and that's important. And not only did he buy everything he was selling, he bought everything he was selling under incredible stress. Jesus showed us a masterful pattern of being willing to accept, forgive, and include someone without feeling the pressure to affirm all of their behavior, right? He served communion to Judas. He cooked breakfast on the beach for Peter. He served communion to Peter. At the same communion, he served communion to Judas, knowing one was going to betray him and one was going to deny him. He does, and it's not even ambiguous to Jesus. No, he calls them out, and despite all of that, he's like, I can fully accept you without having to affirm everything about you. And Jesus took it further than that in the Sermon on the Mount, which is he called his followers not to even engage in worship until they were reconciled with someone they had a problem with. Yeah. So I think if you take those three postures, and we could take 10 postures of Christ, but if you just take those three postures and then ask ourselves, is the way we're using technology consistent with those three postures? And there's a way that you can use technology consistent with those three postures. There's a way you can use technology to find areas of injustice and then participate with justice. Absolutely. Yeah. There's a way you can use technology to find someone that you never had a chance to reconcile that problem with and go, can we make this right? You can use and oftentimes you can use technology in a way that makes that possible in a way that it was not possible 40 years ago. You had to hire a private investigator to go do that. Now you're like, what was their name again on Facebook? I'm like, oh, I can just DM, So, but I think those are questions we need to ask. Am I using technology in a way that postures my life towards helping people with less? Am I using technology in a way that postures my life toward accepting others without having to affirm all their thoughts about everything? And am I posturing my use of technology in a way that exacerbates the compassion bend in my life instead of the fighting for what I believe bend. And what we did is, for the first 327 years of church history, the historian Alan Creeder writes a great book on this called The Patient Ferment of the Early Church. And he says that even though the church was illegal, it thrived because of the technology of the table. The table was a place where you could be fully accepted without having to be affirmed for all your thoughts without agreement. Like they took agreement off the table so that the love of the person could be on the table. And anybody that's familiar with my teaching knows, but for those of you who aren't, the word table in Hebrew and the word reconcile are the same word. So shulchan. So when Jesus said, go and be reconciled, in Jesus' language, that was go and be tabled. And I think a mistake we made from a corporate level is we traded the technology of the table in for the technology of the tablet. And the problem is that the tablet allows us to rant without relationship. I can tell masses of people what's wrong with Larry without any commitment to my personal reconciliation with Larry or Larry's redemptive process or like Larry and I are very close friends, just for full disclosure for the people listening. And there have been times where Larry has lovingly participated in my redemptive process and no one knew about it. And I'm sure there's been times I've done the same for him. But when you introduce a technology now, I can do something pretty cheap and a big ego bump. I'm going to tell a lot of people something about somebody. I'm going to rant without relationship, without any commitment to their redemptive process, without any posture towards my responsibility for my brother. That's dangerous. This allows us to rant without relationship. This also creates a culture where Larry and I can't be friends unless we agree on everything. And once you surrender to that, it makes your life awfully small. And unfortunately, fortunately, I've seen Christ followers use technology in those first three ways. That's beautiful. Like, we have kind of mutual friends in Convoy of Hope.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know the inner workings of Convoy of Hope, but I affirm what they do.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure in some way they use technology to streamline logistics, to
no question,
posture towards compassion,
sure,
justice, generosity, and learning. Right? But, well, heck, last night we saw the same technology used to self-promote, to call someone out on their crap that they don't even know each other. And it's like, I don't even think it's an either or thing. I think it's the question every person should be asking is one, am I spending too much time ruining my IQ? Two, is the content I'm consuming helpful? Like, if you just took an 8-hour course on wealth building and sustainable asset management strategies in order to create a perpetual charitable distribution to the poor. If you did 8 hours of training on that, that is different than 8 hours of, right?
Yeah.
And so is the content I'm using helpful? Is the content I'm consuming helpful?
Yeah.
Is my posture of my heart towards generosity, reconciliation, and acceptance, learning, or am I ranting without relationship? Am I consuming unhelpful content? And am I absolving myself from someone else's redemptive process simply by replacing the table with the tablet. And because when we do that, what we do is we end up building a tower to protect our point of view instead of a table to invite everybody in. And anyway, that's my 2 cents worth on technology.
Yeah, I mean, I could. Do you have any like nuts and bolts rules when it comes like to your phone or how you used it? I know you've sort of shared softly about using it for good and making sure the content is helpful, but like, I mean, I talk to some people like, okay, one simple rule is no phone in the bedroom, like, or Saturdays I just don't touch technology. That's my Sabbath. And
that's a great rule.
And that's or great. I mean, have you developed or heard of any of these that you think are actually really, really helpful for some people?
So for me, I try to have one day in 7 that are different than all the other days. So 6 days I study. I try to. I'm not like on it, but I try to study and write something new 2 hours every day. 6 days I email, network. Like I have right now we're booking 17 months in advance, right? So getting out in front of that. There's logistical things like rental cars and travel and air tickets and schedule and how many sessions am I doing and are these slides okay and what there's that. But so I try to spend one day in 7 just not doing the things I do the other 6. I'm not a real big sit on social media person. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever posted anything. People have seen some things that were posted for me.
Yeah.
But really, my teaching isn't really conducive to 20-second
sound bites,
vignettes. It's just, I don't know. And I'm not a real big self-promoter in terms of, I find it
icky.
Oh, so icky. But I don't want to put my conscience on someone else either. But I would, I just try to, I think a good way to say it is I try to be fully present where I am. Like if Larry and I haven't seen each other in a while and we're good friends, and if we're at lunch having a chat and I can't help myself but, well, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And not in the, gosh, you sinner wrong, but it's something not healthy. And so I try to limit my technology, and more I try to limit my technology of correspondence one day a week, because that's where I have to be heavy on that. But at the same time, on those same days, I certainly use technology to watch sports. Because that is recreational for me. It's recreating.
I found Shane the worst self-promoter ever.
Oh yeah.
And yet he's booking 17 months out in advance.
Yes.
People want, I mean, it's pretty amazing, like how the populace or the popularity of culture is wrapped around, the gram and some other stuff that's out there, social media wise, promoting ourselves, promoting self. And then watching him, he actually has a team that does it for you, right? You have
but I've cut them back 90%.
And they approached you as well.
I hardly ever see it. But it's like, it's almost like, God opens up those opportunities for you. God, your gift will make room for you.
Totally. Like particularly in American, go get it culture. Get after it, chase the American dream, make it work for yourself. Like, there's a sort of there's an illusion of having 1,000, 2,000, 20,000 followers. And I always tell people, you don't have followers, you have observers of a curated life.
Correct.
And that's all they're doing. They're seeing snapshots and vignettes, as you put it, of something that you have carefully crafted and then put out there. That there's nobody following you.
No.
There's nobody watching how you respond when you're angry or frustrated, or seeing how you deal with, patience or whatever. You can go through the list. And so there's a real sort of sense of self-worth that people are trying to get from this. I think one of my real concerns, well, I have many concerns about technology, but particularly what it's doing to our mind, attention spans, and brain in particular, but the social skills that young people are missing out on as well. I think just getting them to look you in the eye and have a 5-minute conversation is terrifying for them. Right? It's so anxiety inducing to sit and so we're trying to develop practices in our Christian culture to sit around the table again and to hear your story. But we have a generation of people that are very uncomfortable sitting for a 2-hour meal, talking about their life and talking about, and that practice. And
on an introductory note here, there's a great book called Stolen Focus by Johann Hari.
Oh, he's a brilliant writer.
Yeah, he did a
technology book.
He did a self-experiment.
Okay, yeah.
On it. So he went to some island, Cape Cod or whatever, and he made a few rules. He could have a phone, but only a flip phone that dialed. So if he needed to call 911, right?
Sure.
Or
an emergency contact.
Or he could call an actual human and have a talk, right? So you dial the number, Larry, how are you? Like no texting, just right. And so he had to walk to the local news agent every day and get the news for the day and read the newspaper. And he'd get 6 of them, and that would educate him on the day. And he wrote a book called Stolen Focus about what that did to him. Like what happened to his brain when that happened. And he had all this data before and after, and then his own personal testimony of experience of what it did. It was terrifying.
So it wasn't just anecdotal. He actually was scanning his brain function?
No, I don't know that he had the access to that, but more this is what my body was feeling.
Right.
And what it did, I'd have to go back and read the book because my focus got stolen. But it's been a while since I've read the book. It was a brilliant book.
Yeah.
But forgive me if I'm quoting this wrong, but it was some kind of 5 weeks into this experiment that he felt his creativity as a writer ramp up exponentially. And then he realized how much he had lost, where he'd start the writing process and it was a brilliant social experiment on what's happening to us when we get the problem with here's a good example. Probably not so much with you. I'm 10 years older than you, and Larry's older than me by a little bit. And so,
a lot.
But you look awesome. Yeah. But Larry and I would remember our dads saying words like "shut up, the news is on," from 6 to 6:30, bro. I don't remember being allowed to speak. You know what I mean?
Right. No, yeah.
It's hyperbolic, but
it's
like if you disrupted Dad watching the news, well, that was the only way he found out
anything.
What happened that day?
Yeah.
If you're talking during the news, son, I won't know what happened till tomorrow. Because
there was no other source.
Or
bro.
worse, I got to stay up till 11 and watch the 11 o'clock news,
and that ain't happening.
That wasn't happening. And so that kind of world where back then the news told us what happened.
Yeah.
Now, because everybody knows within 20 seconds what happened, all the news is someone's opinion about what happened. And what that did to us in terms of now further dividing us. People say, well, America's more divided than ever before. Kind of true. In another way, not. I mean, go check 1963.
Yeah.
Right. But it was but part of it is technology based, because if everybody knows what's happening in 30 seconds, and then they can tune into the opinion they like. Technology allows for that. And he talks about that in the book and what that does for our psyche around seeing things as us and them, instead of, hey, we're Americans or we're British, or Johann Hari's a British guy, I think. So but we're British or we're American, or let's even go further than that, we're human, right? And so the technology actually gives us more harder lines to divide ourselves by. Which can destroy things. Yeah. And it's kind of the really hyperbolic rhetoric point of Mission Impossible, the last one where there's this
Day of reckoning.
the day of reckoning, like where there's this AI thing called the entity, and the way the AI entity is controlling the world is by changing the images of what everybody's seeing to make everybody think the other person's their enemy.
You're right.
And
That's exactly what it was about.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
It's very conspiracy theory as well. That's, but
but
brilliant concept. Yeah.
but could happen,
Right.
Yeah.
And
is happening.
And it does
It
happen.
actually is happening. Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, well, as an example, right? So this happened yesterday. So full disclosure, I'm a dual citizen. I'm a citizen of America and Australia. And somebody posted Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard on Wednesday told Muslims to get out. She stood up to the Muslims who, if they want to live by Sharia law, Australia is not your place. Out. Okay, none of that happened. First of all, the Prime Minister of Australia is Anthony Albanese, not Julia Gillard. That's number one. Number two, it was just a thing that then invokes fear in great Muslim people who are trying to live at peace and go to work and right, and then it invokes fear in non-Muslim people who it's like, do we need to have that kind of a stance and what's going on? But it was just a fake thing, and I don't know how you legislate against people just posting fake stuff,
right?
You know? But it's that kind of thing divides instead of brings together. Anyway, if you want a great book on this, Johann Hari's Stolen Focus.
Again, lack of accountability, right? There's a lack of accountability in all aspects of social media and even media. Because there's no, because if you go back and fact check whatever you just said, right? Well, it's already out there. It's too late. It's been shared. It's already been shared around the world, and so nobody goes back and says, "Oh no, that was actually fake," because this guy brought out something else. And does just an awesome Muslim family living in Iran, do they read that, and how do they respond? Like a nation is throwing, and it was just all, it just creates havoc.
Yes,
and I think that's another posture we need to ask is before I hit post, is this going to promote love, encouragement, compassion, and generosity, or is this unnecessarily disruptive?
Yeah, the argument that people will throw out is that but I'm interested in the truth. That's what people will always say. Oh, I don't care who this offends. Jesus didn't care who he offended. He's just after the truth.
He didn't care who he offended. What a ridiculous statement. Jesus didn't care who he offended. No, he just died for the whole world.
Right.
Yeah. He emptied himself of his divine power to suffer for all of humanity.
Yeah. That's like Denzel Washington said to someone one time, a reporter one time. He said, "It's not about you guys being right about what you're getting ready to say. It's just if you're first or not. That's it. That's all you're worried about."
Yes.
If you're just first ahead of it, even if it's not true, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just I'm the first one to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we do have to exercise, I think, exponential wisdom when it comes to our phones.
Especially individuals,
Absolutely.
Not talking about media, but just ourselves.
Yeah, we have to take the responsibility for it. We can't wait for government to legislate against some fake news being able to be posted.
This affected me recently. Like somebody, I don't know who, posted a photo of a mass grave in a Congolese civil war. But the photo was real. It was a mass grave in a Congolese civil war, but they from like 2014, and then the caption was mass graves now in rural South Africa from black people killing white Afrikaners. Well, I was in South Africa, and so my dad sees this, and just Shane, call me now, He was just like, Shane, like, you don't need to be there. But there was just no truth. It was not only misleading, it was I don't even know what to call that. Like it was, incredibly disruptive.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think for most people listening to this, they wouldn't do something like that. But I think we can ask the question, before I hit post, is this going to bend people to compassion, generosity, justice, or is it going to bend people towards disruption, anger, disorder, division?
Well said.
Yeah, because young people nowadays, I think, are pretty savvy to fake news. They can spot it pretty fast. Not all the time, but they're so steeped in it. But I can't help but think that a part of their trust is being eroded as well when it comes to authority. It's making the job harder to be able. Yeah, everything. Distrust has always been a thing, particularly in large institutions. Millennials were famous for that, but Gen Z as well. And I think it's an opportunity for the church to engage authentically with them one-on-one again, and to reframe what trust can look like.
And to Larry's point earlier, in that environment, people would be hungry for two things: a solid foundation and moral clarity. So the idea that if we create a free-for-all, people will love that. No. There was a Hebrew king named, I think it was Ammon, and what he did, he got worried that the surrounding tribes were going to attack Israel. And so whether it's best case or worst case, what he did was horrible, is his logic was, if we let them put their idols in our temple, it'll keep them, they won't attack us if the image of their God
is there.
Right.
Yeah. So it created this syncretic, just moral free-for-all, right? That took a few generations, but they ended up sacrificing kids to Molech, and it was not till Josiah came in and, right? And I say that as an extreme example of, in a world where there's mistrust and there's X, Y, Z, where the church and where we must capitalize on this is the Sermon on the Mount, the way Jesus saw the world, the way Jesus saw God, the way Jesus applied Scripture as a foundation of moral clarity. That when it's presented as moral clarity instead of inclusion and exclusion, like you have to behave to be a part of us, people are craving moral clarity. They don't want a moral free-for-all because it overpromises and underdelivers. Even if it sounds okay, it doesn't deliver on what it promises. And so technology, because you can find anybody to agree with you, can make it appear like, well, we just need to get to a moral free-for-all because that's where people will be most comfortable. But actually, what people are craving is a solid foundation, which for us is how Jesus saw things in the Sermon on the Mount, particularly, and moral clarity. And we can bring people back, like, okay, yeah, you watch this TikTok video, but
Recenter you.
Okay, this person said that he quoted an anonymous study on the best way to deal with heart problems is if somebody offends you, you hit them hard. Okay, but Jesus said, bless your enemies, and your best life is found in general letting stuff go, and actually exposing injustice with uber generosity. So if we could read it, but I saw TikTok. Yep, okay, but here we go. And that moral clarity is actually very attractive.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's awesome.
Brilliant.
That's really good, right?
Yeah.
So
that
good.
Great.
That was awesome. Thanks, Shane, for that.
Welcome,
thanks
guys.
for chiming in on that particular talk. And I'll tell you, man, I have to say, phones are a distraction. They really are.
They are.
And I'm a number one offender of it. You know,
Right.
I mean. So we're not sitting here saying that, hey, you guys, no. We're offenders ourselves.
Yep.
And so it's really good to talk about that and just kind of, again, trying to overlay our life. I think for me personally, it's not a matter of achieving, right? And I think we talked about that this morning a little bit around the breakfast table. It's not a matter of the Sermon on the Mount being something to achieve our salvation. It's actually showing us how to demonstrate what a Jesus follower looks like.
Correct.
Out of our life. And so thanks so much for kind of reshifting us and kind of getting us in that direction. And so beautiful talk. So this ends this podcast for this moment. Thanks so much for tuning in with us. If you haven't, please hit the like button, subscribe, share it with whoever on this chat, this talk, and just remember, if you think someone else needs this chat, I know you'd love to share it, but really take it at heart yourself. This is not a pitchfork podcast where this is somebody else's problem, but we have to look inwardly in our own heart. So we hope that in some way today this enriched your life.